Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 260 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here this week, kicking things off with the owner of MTG Goldfish, Richard. What's going on today, Richard?
Going very well, just grinding some new standard.
Me too. It's one of my favorite times of year. New set comes out, get to play new cards. It's always fun. But before we talk about new standard, we have another co-host who made it out of the airport eventually with all of his commander decks intact. That is Krim. Krim, good to have you back. I'm glad you made it out of the frozen tundra of Canada and back to the United States.
I'm happy that I made it, but I'm even happier that my commander decks made it. I mean, maybe my friends aren't happy that my commander decks made it out, but I'm very happy.
Yeah. So our topics for today, actually pretty straightforward. We're going to be talking Theros Beyond Death, mostly in the context of Standard. We have the set out on Magic Arena, Magic Online, getting our first little taste of tournament results in digital form. So basically, gonna talk about new Standard, answer some fish mail. But before we jump into that, a reminder that our show today is brought to you by Card Conduit. And Card Conduit is the easiest way to sell Magic cards. If you're looking to avoid all the hassles and time that it takes to sort your collection and sell your collection, this new service from the folks at Card Hoarder will sort, grade, and sell your Magic cards. And once the shipment is processed, you'll receive the proceeds minus their fee. And right now, you can get 10% off by going to cardconduit.com/MTGGoldfish. So thank you so much to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And now, with our sponsorship stuff out of the way, let's talk new Standard.
Let's talk about it.
So, I assume that both of you have been playing some Standard since we had the release was Thursday-ish, although kind of like Friday or Saturday because Arena had some issues with the new set coming in. But eventually, a couple of days ago, we actually had new cards on Arena and got to start playing. So first off, what have you mostly been playing in Theros Beyond Death Standard since the set went live?
Well, I've been doing a ton of decks, right? I've played some really bad ones, and I I try to make Underworld Dreams work and all that stuff, but the things that stuck for me so far were Esper Hero, Azorius Control, Dimir Control, and I tried to make Grixis work, but that didn't work. And then I've been having fun with a Bant kind of Bogles deck that has been, Richard did call it a little bit earlier where the mana base can be a little funny, but I've been trying to play that one, and I'm trying to fine tune that deck, and I've also played mono green.
Ooh, like a devotion ramp style shell or like an aggro mono green?
Yeah, a devotion style. So it's been pretty fun. I've been main decking Destiny Spinner, and I've been doing the Nyxborn Druid thingy and Nissa, and just go all in on the devotion and whatnot, and just try to use Nyx Lotus.
What's the payoff? Because if you have Nyxborn Ancient, Nissa, Nyx Lotus, you're making absurd amounts of mana. What do you do with all that mana in mono green?
I make a gigantic. Well, it's mono green splashing blue. Just for Crisis.
So we're casting big crosses. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I'm doing with it. And it's been pretty fun so far. I've been it obviously loses to a single board wipe, but outside of that, it's been pretty good. Yorvo has been doing work, the 3 green pips from it. A lot of the triple pip cards from Eldraine have just been super sweet.
Yeah, those seem like the engine of most of the devotion decks. We've had mono black people are playing. ER is a key piece of that. Mono blue Gadwick is the most important card. Haven't really seen much. I don't know if I've seen any actually mono red devotion. I haven't played it and I haven't seen anyone play it, but I've seen I think every other devotion color. Mono white. Have you seen mono white devotion? That's the devotion deck that I haven't really figured out yet. It's kind of like the Heliod aggro devotion is what I normally see, and it either gets a really solid draw and it feels insane where there's Heliod, Gideon, Linden, gain 1 million life, make a huge board, I kill you. Or it's they draw a few extra lands, you play a removal spell, and their deck just does nothing.
Yeah, that's the thing. I tried to make a mono white deck work, and it just felt like I died. Like if anybody like had a removal spell, like my deck immediately slowed down. Like it felt pretty bad there, but maybe my build just wasn't perfect. I do, however, think that like mono green might actually, like, it sounds weird that I'm like excited on mono green because you have cards like Vivian Arcbow Ranger on top of that. So, and then I do play Nylea. And so that has just been fun. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah. And you get a lot of card advantage, like in sneaky ways with the mono green deck. So it does seem like a cool devotion color. Richard, what about you? What have you been playing in Theros Beyond Death Standard?
All right, so I've been playing Rakdos Knights since
Are there any
since
new
before
cards?
Theros, and I was like,
are
let's
there
upgrade
any
my
new cards
deck.
in your deck?
0 upgrades, but
Very
it's still,
nice.
I think, one of the best decks. I was like smashing people left and right. Then I got bored, and then I'm like, okay, I'll try some new cards because I don't want to just play like a straight 75 holdover from last standard. So, like Krim, I went to my tried and true mono green, my pet deck. Great Henge, Giant Growth. I'm like, okay, we have Shadow Spear now. I can like actually get through chump blockers. And then your payoffs are you can have Nylea and other top end cards like that, but the deck still sucks because it doesn't play any interaction. So combo decks and like creature based combos like still kill you. It's too slow for control decks and fire decks. It only beats up on other like mediocre creature decks. So I shelved that. But while getting stomped in queue, I saw someone playing an Enchantress deck. So I built my Enchantress deck. Unlike Krim, I decided to go only Celestia. Couldn't get the blue in there. But basically, Karametra's Blessing, which if you don't know what it is, it's an instant, 1 white. So what, like 1 CMC. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If enchanted creature or enchantment creature, it also gains hexproof and indestructible. Now, if you have a seasoned growth, or what's it called? Season of growth. Battle
Season of growth, yeah.
That's Autumn's Veil, if you didn't recognize. And also, it's indestructible. So it actually keeps your creatures through wraths. And on top of that, since your enchantment deck and your enchantment removal is probably like banishing light type cards, you have Alseeds of Life's Bounty, which gives enchantments protection as well as another creature. So it's actually just straight up Bogles. I use Paradise Druid as a 2/1 hexproof, and combine that with Sentinel's Eyes and Sentinel's Mark. They give your creatures vigilance. Gideon in the sideboard also gives you vigilance. So you have a hexproof creature. You load it up with an All's Glitters, give it trample with success and training, and then people are dead. And it's actually really, really good. Like, I actually think it's really good. I played a lot of Bogles and Pioneer, and it feels exactly the same way.
Do you actually tap Paradise Druid for mana? Or do you have to, like, not tap it because you're afraid of, like, turning off the hexproof and it dying?
Depends. Like, you could accelerate into your Setestan champion if you feel they don't have removal, or end of turn, you usually tap it. So a common play pattern is you keep it untapped, they tap out during their turn. At the end of their turn, you use it to flash in Sentinel's Mark or Karametra's Blessing, and then draw a card with Season of Growth while they're tapped out. But typically, it's just a vigilant creature that goes to town. And people can't deal with it, and even if you have a board wipe, you just Karametra's Blessing to keep it alive. So the only way to get rid of anything is to sacrifice creatures. So like Priest of Forgotten Gods, but we have Siona, Captain of the Pleius. So when you enchant something, you get a 1/1 creature. So you can keep pumping out little dorks as sack fodder. So I think this deck is actually really good. Like, I'm like not trolling. It's actually a good deck.
Karametra's Blessing is really insane. That's a card that I think it might have came out like during the last day of spoiler season even, and I just like didn't really pay attention to it, but that card has blown me out in limited like a million times. Like, I constantly get blown out by that card. It's showing up at standard, and I think it's going to show up in Pioneer Bogles too. Like, if you look at Pioneer Bogles, their big issue is you don't get the like totem armors, so you're really susceptible to wraths, but because it gives indestructible too, that card seems like it might make Pioneer Bogles into like an actual tier deck, or at least move it up a tier, just like by itself. That card is so insane.
Yeah, that I definitely got like paired against another deck using that. I was like, is it time? Like, if it ever gets bad enough, do I have to start doing like like Shadow Spear just without a creature in my deck at all to equip Shadow Spear to. Like I'm like tired of like I don't want to get blown up by Indestructible anymore.
Yeah, and the kicker is you have Destiny Spinner in the set as well, which really locks out control decks because creatures and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. So combine that with Karametra's Blessing, it's like you have this. Basically, everything is a Carnage Tyrant that's indestructible, right?
Like you can
it's
protect
very
Destiny
obnoxious.
Spinner. You can it's just like wow.
You can protect all of your obnoxious sideboard creatures because you enchant them and then Karametra's Blessing, right? Like Hushbringer, Apostle Purifying Light is hilarious. Like it's super obnoxious to play against.
Yeah, I have not played against it yet. I've been also like messing around with it as a potential like budget Magic deck, and it does seem super annoying. And I don't, when I put it together, I didn't know you were playing it. I didn't know Krim was playing a version of it. When I put it together, I was like, oh, this will probably be like a decent budget deck. And then when you start playing, you're like, wow, this deck actually feels like surprisingly powerful. And you play against like decks that were legitimately top tier, like the Simic ramp decks and Mono Black and all these decks, and they really struggle to keep up with just like these indestructible Bogglesy creatures. So yeah, that deck's exciting. I'm mostly though, on my end, been trying to do big splashy things. Like Thassa is probably the card that I've played the most. Yeah. I've been like addicted to the Mono Blue Devotion deck. Oh, no, we're not Thassing our enchanted creatures. No. But I think Mono Blue Devotion's been a deck that I've had a ton of fun with. I think that deck, it's going to be interesting. Like, Nyx Lotus is definitely busted, and it's a card that I think I really underestimated how powerful it would be during spoiler season. I think Mono Blue Devotion kind of has a chance, like, Thassa into Cavalier of Gales is very powerful, and then you blink it, and then you got Agent of Treachery. I've also been like trying to work with like Thassa, Yaraki, Elemental style decks, which I don't know how good they are, but they're really fun when they go off. And then the other deck I've mostly been working on is just kind of like a Bant Euro ramp deck. You have so many card draw spells, and you get like Binding of the Titans to fill your graveyard, and then you get Dream Trawler, and I think we got to talk about Dream Trawler for a minute. Dream Trawler is a card that I don't think we really mentioned. I think we said like, oh, it's like a better Prognostic Sphinx or something. But to me, Dream Trawler might be the best card from the set that I've seen. Like whenever my opponent plays a Dream Trawler, I don't think I've ever won that game. And whenever I've played a Dream Trawler, I don't think my opponent's ever won. Like, have you guys had that same experience with Dream Trawler just being like utterly unbeatable?
I think
but in limited.
Yeah, well, in limited, it's ridiculous. I've had to play like, what is it? Something Farika's whatever, make him sack a creature. I saw blue and white. I just held it all game because I don't know who was a master and open one, right? So like, I was just like, I'm just going to play around a Dream Trawler and I'm going to always have this. And like, I was killing little 1/2s and things like that to get it out. Always like, no. We need you to have only one creature. But yeah, like in Constructed, like it felt great out of my Esper hero deck, out of the Esper midrange deck. But when I did feel like when I was playing my control deck, it was a little bit easier to deal with. Because it finally gave me something to kill with my like board wipes.
That is true. It does get board wiped, and it is counterable. So I think that is a way to potentially deal with it. But I think I've seen it be very impressive.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't take that many hits for it to just run away with the game. And the combination of like lifelink added on to it being incredibly hard to kill outside of like board wipes once it hits the battlefield, it just like swings the race so quickly. It's like so demoralizing because I've been playing like random aggro decks and you get your opponent down to like 5 and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and then they play Dream Trawler and you're like, oh no, and then they're back up to like 20 after 2 turns, so you're just like, oh come on now, come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good finisher, right? Like a 7-drop, realistically a 7-drop that is unkillable. As soon as they play it, if you're not some kind of weird unfair deck, like if you're just a creature-based deck, it's over. Which I think is the way it should be, right? Like when your control opponent gets a 7 mana, the game should be over and it shouldn't drag on for 8 more years. So I'm fine with this.
I'm sorry. Like I still like I don't get me wrong. I think Dream Trawler is like a cool Magic card. It's great, but it's just not Aetherling for me. I still want an Aetherling. Like that was actually unkillable, right? Like Aetherling was amazing.
Isn't Dream Trawler better than Aetherling?
I mean,
no, Aetherling can blink.
Yeah, Aetherling but actually, like, so when I resolved that, I knew I was there. There was like no way to kill that unless I tapped out, right?
But what if they just like bolt your face?
I mean, yeah, if
Dream Trawler
if they
takes care of like that issue.
If they remove me, then okay, that makes sense, right? Like, granted that
I feel this is like a Baneslayer or something, right? Like you drop it,
Yeah.
it has reasonable protection, and
It's
you're
still-
gonna probably win.
right. I've just been seeing it like in control decks, like as your finisher, right? And maybe more in like tap out control, that's fine. But like I've seen like it go into like draw go decks, and I'm like, hold on. If I pay 6 mana in a draw go deck and then it just turns on their 19 Shatter the Skies and Kaya's Wraths, that doesn't feel great, right? Like, so
what's the preferred control finisher?
Castle
nowadays?
Ardenvale.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
You think I'm
Oh
kidding?
my God.
You think I'm kidding, but I'll tell you this on my stream right now. They have seen me go the distance where, we're just going to do land go. Okay, pass. End of turn, make a token. Pass. Attack, pass. Like just
I guess that's slightly faster than Drown Yard.
Is it though? What if they have like blockers?
well then, we just got to go wide.
And then you're like a control deck. I gotta hold a removal because they might play a real threat. So we'll just keep that blocker and then just do nothing for another 8 years.
I mean, I indulge myself when it comes to just doing a whole lot of nothing for a long time. Also, I play Narset with emergency powers, and like the moral, like the demoralizing feeling usually causes people to concede. But yeah, like, I don't know. I mean, when I cast a 6 mana creature in a draw go deck, that I like, you know what I mean? Like, I wanted to actually like live. I might be spoiled though, because Aetherling to me was just like, oh, that was perfect.
So I've been. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, speaking of 6 drops, what do you guys think of the Titans so far? Even though none of them are actual 6 drops.
Oh yeah, dude. So Uro, like, okay, everybody is like, I was talking to some people at the pre-release and whatnot, right, over the past weekend, and everyone feels like Uro is like crazy high power level, and I feel like it is really good, but I think it only feels like that ridiculously busted because everything in Simic is that busted. So like, as cool as Control is, like, pretty much anytime I play against Simic, like, everything has to go. Like, there's not many things that can stay on the board. Like, Nissa can't happen. Like, Krasis just does happen. You know what I mean? Like, I've noticed that Simic just has so much high power, like so many high powered cards.
Yeah, I feel the same. I think
imagine if
Uro's
Oko
kind of
was still
sucked. I haven't actually seen a lot of Uro. I've seen way more Kroxa. Not even close. Like, so many more shells have Kroxa. Rakdos Sacrifice shells,
Yup.
Zov, weird shells like that.
Yup.
Whereas like Uro, like gain 3 life, draw a card, blah. Like usually Simic doesn't have a way to fill their graveyard as fast, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
Whereas that Kroxa actually comes into the battlefield because they're sacrificing all of their fodder. Discarding a card is actually pretty annoying. But I think Kroxa is a real deal. I think Kroxa's actually more
I
popular.
love Kroxa. I mean, I think Uro is great in the shells that it's in. Like, Simic does have Cavalier, right? Cavalier does a very nice job of throwing away a ton of cards. But like, yeah, like that's Simic to me is still disgusting. I don't know. Like, I've run into Kroxa also, but like, both have been very good. Both the gods, or I mean the Titans, have been very good.
I've had like the exact opposite experience of Richard, actually, but it might be the decks that I've been playing. I have not been scared of Kroxa. Like, I see it, I'm like, sure, like 3 me, like bring it on, like. So, but I've been playing a lot of Uro, and I've thought that Uro has been very good. I feel like you do have to build around it a little bit, but I feel like you have the tools to do that. Cavalier's an easy one. I've been really impressed with Binding of the Titans. That's a card that I've been playing as a 4 of.
What?
Yeah.
That's spicy. I like that.
Well, it stocks your graveyard, for one thing. It also hates on your opponent's graveyard, so you blow out random, like, Gutter Bones and Kroxas and whatever. And it really speeds up the process of getting your Uro going. So I think Uro's been really good. I feel like people just haven't really built around Uro much yet. I feel like people put more effort into their Croxa decks with like, oh, playing with Lazav or whatever, when people haven't really explored the possibilities of Uro. So I've been playing a Bat deck with Uros and Cavaliers, Tamios, Binding of the Titans, Dream Trawlers, in the deck as well. And I actually kept like getting up to like 60 life and then decking myself, and losing because of it. So, Hydroid Crosses. So I was like easily winning these games, but then I just kept running out of cards. So I finally had to add a couple of Thassa's Oracles, just because I kept decking myself accidentally. And that really, improved the deck a lot. So I think Uro has a lot of potential, but you just gotta build around it a little bit.
I feel Simic is so high powered that Uro is just another thing that kills you.
Yeah.
The card I'm most scared of in Simic decks is actually Thassa.
Yeah.
Like that card is disgusting. Like no matter what, like you blink a Cavalier, you blink an Agent of Treachery, like anything, it's over. And then of course you always have the tried and true like Nissa, Hydroid, Krasis garbage that kills everyone. Like I don't know. Like all of these things are like must deal with.
Yeah, like that's
So,
that's what
yeah.
I was like I was saying. I feel like everything in Simic just that can't resolve. I can't let you have that. No, you can't have that. It's like, well, I died. One of them stuck. One of 60 cards in their deck happened. I died. But like for me, it's been the same card over and over. It's Nissa. It's been Nissa that makes things like I've been waking up in cold sweats just to Nissa, like legitimately since it's happened, right? Like, I think that card is ridiculous. It does so many things, and it allows them to go wild, and they get to go, aha, a gigantic mass manipulation, steal your board, or you know what I mean? Like, there's just so many things, and it feels bad. Like, at times, I wish Veil of Summer, like, okay, this may sound ridiculous, but at times I was like, man, if I had a Veil of Summer here, this mass manipulation would be a joke. But then I realized if it were legal, then also like 90% of my deck is a joke. So
I mean, you let your opponent resolve like a 5 mana spell, followed by like a 15 mana spell. I think you deserve to die there.
I mean, okay, but also at the same time, we were just mentioning you can't. I'm just not made of counter spells. It's not like
aren't you, Crib? I thought you were.
You know what? Sometimes I draw removal spells. Maybe I draw lands. Okay, sometimes I stumble, if you would.
Nissa is definitely busted. I think there's probably a strong argument that Nissa might be the best card in Standard right now.
I still feel that.
That's the problem. I actually want my opponents to cast Nissas.
What?
No, it's because my Bogles.
I'm playing Bogles. Or if I'm playing Rakdos or anything, like Nissa doesn't do much. It's only like Nissa, they untap Krasis maybe, but usually you can kill the Nissa on the first swing, right? You just gotta play like aggressive creatures. Embercleave is still a real card. Embercleave is probably the best card I think in Standard.
Oh my! Oh no! I mean, maybe
Embercleave is one of my least favorite cards in Standard. That card gets me so much. That's another one where you're like, oh, okay, we're doing all right. Yeah, they got some creatures, but they're not that big. And then it's just like, oh, Tenyu, and I'm like, oh,
it fixes everything, right? You're just like, oh, okay. Embercleave, take 20, you're dead.
I tried Naya also, like speaking of Bogles, for Embercleave. And I realized that, oh, hold on, this is not nearly as sweet when I have one creature.
Yeah. Five
mana. How do you feel about that? Also double red.
All right. What about our Planeswalkers? Elspeth was a hotly contested card. What have you guys seen Elspeth?
Oh, yes, that card is so good. That card is sweet. Like both the Planeswalkers were extremely underrated going into this set. Like Ashiok, trash, not Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. Elspeth, trash, right? Like, but in my opinion, I've played against both of them. I think Elspeth is just very, very good. For 6 mana and only exiling 4 other cards, like, that is a deal. I'll take that deal every time. And I've had people go and do it all in the same turn, right? Like, they play an Elspeth, they minus to like pump their 2 creatures, play another Elspeth, or cast again from the graveyard, make 2 1/1s. And it just felt like it was impossible to outgrind Elspeth.
I've thought Elspeth is good the whole time, although honestly I haven't really seen many people playing Elspeth. I haven't played against many Elspeth. So I have seen a lot of Ashiok's, and Ashiok has been reasonably impressive. Like it hasn't been like, it hasn't blown me away, but it is a card that has been good when it's hit the battlefield. So I think that Elspeth though is definitely probably underrated by the community at large, and is a very strong card.
Yeah, I take it all back. I said she was trash. She's like okay. Like I played against her several times. Like usually mono white or black white shells player. If you don't have a questing beast, it's pretty bad. Like she just like -2, -2, -1, and that's a ton of damage and pressure. Or if you just have 2 creatures out, just that -1, the 4 damage, additional damage is a lot, and plus she escapes.
Yep.
However, I still contend that if you play Questing Beast, Elspeth is a joke. So I don't know, right?
Planeswalkers in general feel like they could possibly be a joke.
No, but like Ashiok could come down. Let's say there's a Questing Beast on the battlefield. You could like Ashiok and like bounce and kill the Questing Beast. Right? Elspeth does absolutely nothing. Make 2 1/1s. It's like a raise the alarm for 4 mana. So
speaking of Questing Beasts though, that's a card that I haven't seen nearly as much as I used to. Like, I feel like since we've gotten the new set, and maybe that'll change. Maybe people are just like trying out the new cards and people will get back to Questing Beasts, but I haven't played against that many Questing Beast decks.
Yeah, it'll return. it'll return.
I'm pretty sure Gruul is still one of the better decks. Speaking of green cards though, when I was playing my mono green deck, one card that really stood out to me was the first Ironian Games. It's the saga where you make a 1/1, not the gold part. Part 2 is put 4 +1/+1 counters. Part 3 is draw a card if you have a creature of 4 power greater, and then make a gold. I actually found that card to be really, really good. Like 3 mana, 4/4, draw a card, make a gold, pump your creature, like whatever, like you can pump your Questing Beast or whatever, get more damage in. I actually thought that card was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it has a high ceiling, although the card draw, you have to have a creature power 4 or greater, right, for it to work. So if your opponent like keeps your board in check, then all of a sudden you like get kinda not much of anything for your investment. Like you play and make a 1/1, then they like shock your 1/1, then you do like nothing.
But you're green. You have like Questing Beast, and you have what's the 5/5? Lovestruck Beast.
Yeah.
You have like all these like giant creatures just sitting around. Or you have like the 1/1 token from Lovestruck Beast, which you can put your +1/+1 counters on. It's usually not a problem.
Dude, diversify your threats. Put all your tokens on, put all the 1/1 counters on the 1/1 so Questing Beast can't attack. I mean, Lovestruck Beast.
Lovestruck Beast. Yeah.
No.
So
I think that card was pretty sweet in like, I definitely loved it in my like pre-release pools, but I tried that card in the mono green deck, and like since we don't have like a Llanowar elf or anything like that, it's been a little interesting. I tried to do Edgewall Innkeeper with
Goose.
And like Goose, yeah, I mean I do. Oh yeah, you have Goose. That's right, you do have that. I didn't really play Goose. Maybe that I should also.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't play Goose.
So, looking at the tournament results of the challenge, the most played deck by the looks is probably Mono Black, some sort of like some version of Gray Merchant Mono Black. What have you thought about the Mono Black decks? How good do you think they are? I think one of them finished undefeated, but then lost in the finals to White Weenie. So they actually got second overall in the tournament. But what has your experience been with the Black Devotion decks?
I feel they fold to control decks. No, like without Nightmare Shepherd, I think the deck is pretty questionable.
I definitely miss having a consistent source of card draw. Like
you missed the Thoughtseize.
under what is it? The thingy that taps.
The Thoughtseize.
Oh yeah, it's Thoughtseize that you definitely. But I mean, Agonizing Remorse.
You have the 3 mana card draw if you really want to play it, right? The black.
Right.
Draw 3.
Well,
yeah, but that kills you.
You have Gray Merchant. Gary's there for you.
Easy.
That's just play through it. Play through the pain.
I mean, I've found that like you can, like it's a little bit slower, but you know you do get the Agonizing Remorse card. That's been a kind of an all-star I've been liking that card too. And out of mono
Yeah, I
black,
think
you can play
Agonizing
that.
Remorse is very solid as well.
Yeah, like being able
But
to pick off an Uro with it is pretty sweet too, like permanently.
It's definitely not Thoughtseize.
Yeah,
it's not Thoughtseize level, but I think it's comparable to like Thought Erasure
Yeah.
in power level.
I mean, you have that as your kind of discard spell, but yeah, your draw engine is what you need, right? Like, so that's kind of been the thing. So I guess you have like the Priest. Yeah, like, I mean, some versions play Midnight Reaper, and then, you know, they combine that together with the cat like, you know, it's pretty much mono black cat oven with devotion.
Cat is still around.
Yeah, cat devotion.
It's interesting in the challenge, if you look at the mono black list, the cat oven builds are actually the ones that performed the worst out of the mono black decks. And then the build that ended up performing the best didn't have any cat ovens and kind of like minimal sacrifice synergies. It has Iara and a couple of Woe Striders, but it's not heavily on that. But it had 4 Dread Presence, which I thought was interesting. That's a card that I hadn't been playing in any of my mono black decks, and that is a consistent source of card advantage. So maybe that is a potential solution that someone figured out. I also love that the mono black deck that did best has 4 Spectre Shrieks in the sideboard, so they do kind of have Thoughtseize, especially since so many people are playing black decks at the moment.
Yeah. Like that was one of the Nightmare thing. The Dread Nightmare was a card I was talking about like a while back as like a potential thing to play if mono black were to be good, and I'm glad that somebody else is actually like doing it, because that makes me extremely excited, because that card is sweet. I'm a fan of it. I love that it's card advantage. It's a way to burn and close out the games.
So is there anything else that is especially impressed you in our very first like initial reactions to Theros Beyond Death Standard?
I think some cards that have definitely impressed me are the uncommon sagas. The uncommon sagas.
Yes.
Like Metamize Prophecy was really sweet in like tap out control decks. Obviously, like this one's not a saga or uncommon, but Omen of the Sea or whatever has been really good. And then I like Elspeth's Recurring Nightmare or something. And then even though the white one that fetches a planes,
Yeah,
and then
I've
gives
seen
you
a
a
lot
wall.
of that.
Yeah,
A lot of that in Doom Foretold decks and Orzhov decks.
Yeah.
And it's actually pretty good.
yeah,
it's
like
actually pretty good.
those uncommon ones are just like they crept up on me. I didn't think they'd be that good. I was like, whatever. And then I played them, and dude, oh my gosh! Also the value on like of Metamize Prophecy and then bouncing it back to your hand with Teferi after you've casted the part where you draw to. Like, it's just a sweet cheap turn. Like, it sets up your next few turns. And sometimes you could do the sick bluff and say like, board wipe is what I'm gonna cast. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And then-
I would so get got by that.
Oh,
You give
I
up a
won't
card,
commit
give up
more.
a card? Wow.
Speaking of sagas, I feel like Elspeth's Glorious Return, whatever the Elvis Conquers Death.
Elvis
Yeah,
Conquers Death. Yep, that card.
He's alive, I tell you. Elspeth Conquers Death. That has been very impressive in some decks. I ran up against a deck that was playing. It was kind of a Abzan Calyx Enchantress deck that was like ticking up, playing Elspeth Conquers Death, and then trying to ultimate Calyx to get it back and have like this slow sort of enchantment saga loop, which was pretty cool. So I feel like that's been I feel like that's been pretty good. It's like the Eldest Reborn, and Eldest Reborn was very strong in its standard. I think that Elspeth Conquers Death is similarly powerful.
Yeah. That's another card that has just been like stellar inside like a tap out like blue-white deck or any kind of just white deck. Having that Elspeth Conquers Death has been huge. I've loved that. The Exile 3 CMC or greater helped me deal with gods, stuff like that.
What about the other end? Has there been anything that you've been like, ugh, I thought this was going to be sweet, but so far it hasn't actually been as sweet as I was hoping?
Perforos.
Oh, yeah. I have had similarly disappointing experiences with Perforos. Also, Pelucranos, I think was hyped when it was spoiled, and I haven't seen it see much play, and when it has saw play, it hasn't been overly impressive that I've seen.
There's still time. I believe in Pelucranos. I believe in that card.
What's so good about Pelucranos?
I just
was he actually hyped?
I just
I mean, I understand if you're playing a creatureless control deck and you somehow escape this, so it's like gigantic, but it's like was it Ugin's Conjurant or whatever?
Oh.
Like, why would you play this? It just like gets
Ugin's
smaller with every
Conjurant didn't
combat.
have escape, okay?
Clothis. I haven't seen any Clothis at all, strangely. I wonder if Gruul decks are actually putting her in.
Yeah, I haven't seen anyone play that either.
I haven't actually played against a Gruul deck, so I'm not sure.
I have seen Elspeth Kiora Best the Sea God actually show up in a couple of decks, and that card might be better than people are giving it credit for. Like, it's unbeatable and limited, but if you actually ramp into that, it's pretty scary and constructed as too.
Like,
I think
a single counter spell too. Like, what? How can you play this?
I mean, you play Agent of Treachery and stuff like that if you're ramping enough.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that
I
much
guess it's
different.
true. Yeah.
You just have so many bombs that, like, it's pretty much like, oh, can this resolve? No? Okay, I'll just do the next one. Can I do it again?
Wait, can Thassa blink this? Is Thassa just a creature? It is.
No,
a
it's only
creature.
creatures. If it blinked up permanent, oh my god.
Oh, that would be insane.
Now that's what I call pod racing. Like,
I know it wasn't hyped by us, but Eidolon of Obstruction has been as bad as I thought it would be. Whenever anyone's cast it, like, yeah, that's cute.
what is
I thought
Eidolon of
about it for
Obstruction
Bogles.
again?
It does not make the 75. It's the 2/1 first strike that
Yeah.
taxes
Planeswalker
the
taxer,
Planeswalker
yeah.
abilities.
I mean, the art is gorgeous. I saw one in foil. If that counts for anything. But I think the card that's kind of let me down or like is like Perfros, Nylea so far. Things that are the surprise cards for me are, I think, like Ephemia and like Temerit Calls the Dead. Those have been pretty sweet. And Treacherous Blessing. I think those are some of the cards that have been really surprising me so far.
Yeah. Also, I would say Enigmatic Incarnation. That's a card that was obviously sweet, but I'm surprised at like how quickly people have been able to figure out some sweet Enigmatic Incarnation decks. I know there's one that like Huey was playing on the preview stream last week, and it was really sweet, and I've seen other people working on like 5-color builds of it, so it's much easier to pull off than I thought. When I heard like, oh, you need enchantments and you need creatures, I was like, can you actually like find a deck that like hits both of those marks and is still consistent? And the answer is definitely yes. And once you have it on the battlefield, it really is very Birthing Pod-esque. That's another deck I've messed around with a little bit, where you can just like, if you need to deal with an artifact or enchantment, you get a Knight of Autumn. If you need card advantage, you can snag Cetessan Champion and just kind of work your way through the curve and like pick off whatever you need to. So I think that's been way better than I thought it would be immediately.
Yeah, that deck was very, very sweet. I played a 4-color version with black and all the colors except for red. And like Dryad of the Elysian Grove is like the only card you probably play 4 of. Cause I think Huey's list was sweet. And yeah, like Dryad being an enchantment and a creature, allowing me to ramp. Oh, that was perfect. I've been also like playing I love the enigmatic thing because it does something immediately. You know what I mean? Like it isn't like Vannifar where I have to hope that Vannifar untaps and I get to do something with it. Like,
yeah, you get the end step value, so you immediately get something.
Yeah, like that's been huge. And because of how many people just like been playing like Simic ramp steal your stuff, I've been playing Tristani left and right.
Ooh, on the disappointing end, or maybe just like I haven't seen it end, Haktos, the Unscarred. I know that was like kind of debated how good it would be, but
was anybody ever like that
I
card?
played against it. It's so slow and irrelevant. I was playing Bogles naturally, and they're like Haktos. I'm like, okay, deal with my 2020 life-linking trampler. You get protection. It's too slow, and the mana cost is absurd. It's like you gotta play Boros first of all. You have to be Boros. You can't be anything but Boros. It's just way too slow, and we don't have good equipment. Like, what do you like equip a Shadows? I guess Embercleave.
And
you could
well,
Embercleave
also
this,
it has
right?
protection from it, so.
Oh, you can't even wait. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
It-
No,
can't
no,
equip
no,
it.
no. You have to choose. Oh no,
no. Yeah.
Evercleave. I was like, Evercleave's 3 mana, right? No, Evercleave's actually like 6. or something.
Embercleave is 3 mana.
That's the cost I usually pay for my Embercleaves. Okay, I get a good deal.
That's
Have
how
you
you know
seen,
Richard's been playing aggro. What do you mean Embercleave isn't 3 mana?
Have you seen many of the interventions
Yeah.
in action? I feel like I've seen the blue one often, the black one a little bit, and then red, white, and green basically not at all. I think I saw the red one once, maybe.
I've seen the white one. I play the white one out of the sideboard, and then it's like the Esper ones. The red one, no. The green one, definitely not. At least not in constructed. I did have somebody cast it in at the pre-release, and they went and got a ton of their lands, and I was like, yo, where's Seth at? This is deck thinning right here, dude. Look at this. They only have action in their deck right now. It was like late game, they drew all the rest of their lands, and I'm like, dude, Seth.
And then you killed him
mean,
with a handful of lands.
Nope, we drew. Which, by the way, for the pre-release, for any of those that have played and just like the limited format, the format's so grindy. And then on top of that, when you slap Two-Headed Giant on top of that, it's even slower. I feel like I went to time every round.
Yeah, I had someone
I
complaining about
decked
that on Twitter.
so many people. So, okay, you should listen to nothing I say, because for the first time in my life, I got destroyed in Limited. I played 5 pre-release events on Magic Arena. My best record was 3 wins, because I clearly do not know what I'm doing. It's like everything is removal. Like literally, like every deck has like 10 pieces of removal, because there's just so much enchantment removal, and everything's an enchantment.
Oh,
And then you
Heliod's
have the
Intervention.
actual removal cards that are enchantments.
Mhm.
And a lot of my games just go down to like wet noodle fights where you just stall out, and then you're like, well, you have 8 cards in your deck, I have 9. Should I not cast my card draw spell, because we're probably not going to get anywhere, and I'm going to deck myself first? And then we just deck ourselves to death, because the creatures have such high blocking ability, but like no offensive ability. Everything flies. Everything is removal. Traditional bombs aren't even traditional bombs, because you can remove gods and things like that.
Planeswalkers don't even stay that long.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't really understand anything about the format, except that it's incredibly grindy, and you should probably play 5 color all of your rares and mythics.
Oh, and Dream Trawler's unbeatable.
Yeah, Dream Trawler's unbeatable. But it's a pretty miserable sealed format, probably one of the most miserable sealeds I've ever played. Hopefully draft will be better.
Wow, this is like the
everything's
polar
so grindy.
opposite for me. This is the first time in a long time that I've enjoyed Limited. Yeah, I know. I'm like, whoa, I am really happy to play Limited this set. It's so much
It's your
fun.
favorite format, Krim. You draw a lot of cards, have a bunch of 1/4s, do nothing, and the other guy loses to decking.
Yeah. You know, like, it's funny because, like, there was one sealed, right? I had a friend, and he played 47 cards, and I'm like, what?
That's a smart man.
And dude, he did not mill out. He did not mill out. And he won this match. And I'm like, that is a person. That is a man of culture right there. I like that. I like this person right here. 47 cards. I was like, why stop there? Why don't we play 60? Like,
Yeah. Play them all.
yeah,
If you open it, you play it.
your opponent can't play around everything if you just load your deck up with your entire pool. All right. But yeah, like,
oh, and escape is so stupid in sealed.
It's so
your
good.
creatures are actually just immortal. This is why the game goes forever, right? Because you just escape the same creature like 4 times in a row, and whoever runs out first, you have to run graveyard removal. Like, there's no way around it. You have to main deck.
I main deck
stuff.
that, yeah, like the lamp or whatever. The lamp is amazing. And another thing that is like so sweet though, like in specifically in Two-Headed Giant, like is getting dunked on by Gary, because it doubles. And
it counts.
We played against somebody, right? And it was the sickest thing ever. They play Gary. They have a devotion of 6. We're at 20. We're like, whatever. And then I'm like, they have this devotion of 6. We're at 20. They play Gary. I'm like, all right. And they're like, oh, it's 12. I'm like, oh, yes, it is. I'm like, well, okay, cool. And then they play the white flicker card. And then I'm like, Oh man. And I was sitting there with like Kiora, best the sea god. We're about to kill them. We have a full loaded board, my whole team and I, and then we died out of nowhere. Like this format is pretty fun, like in my opinion at least. And like, yeah, like having cards like Heliod's Intervention in the main deck was so solid. I just blew up everything.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, this format to me is a blast. And maybe it's because it plays kind of like everybody has something to do. Always. As long as escape is there, you have everybody almost is pretty much a mana sink, right? And I think that is a huge part in why it's so fun to me.
That's the game. I mean, if you pay to go to play pre-release, you're definitely gonna play the entire duration because the games just simply do not end.
You will play Magic. There is a promise, and that promise is that you will play Magic.
I prefer the Dominaria style with like the kicker or whatever that, you know, you can sink mana, but you just don't have unlimited cards, which is basically this format. Like, oh my god. The stupid green creatures that escape are like such a pain. They just keep coming back. They're like, did you deal with my 5/5? How about again? How about one more time? How about a third time?
I mean,
and there's like the Black Edict one is really good.
Yeah, that one, the not sack a non-Gorgon creature. That card is sweet. But that's why Final Death has been so important. And that's why I've been not killing the creatures. Like the 3/4 Gorgon that you just mentioned, I just put Myers Grasp on it. And I'm just like, well, you're staying here. You're sitting here and I'm not killing you.
I actually think Timret is like one of the best cards.
Oh,
you
yeah.
just sit there in exile with free mana. It doesn't cost you a card. You gain some life.
Well, I mean, yeah, like you get to sink all your mana into like Timmy, and then Timmy does work. I am a fan of that card. That's why I also love Elspeth's Nightmare, things like that. So this limited format has been a blast for me, in my opinion. And like, I loved it. I opened like one of them. I opened a Gravebreaker, a Lamia, and then just like threw away my Croxa, and I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't really figured out limited for this set yet. We did a little bit on stream. It was hard to figure out though because our pools were not very good. We did 2 seals and we just did not have any like bombs, so that was a little bit awkward. But it does seem fun-ish. But I really want to hit up the drafts more and see how drafting is. In general, I like drafting more than sealed anyway. So hopefully I'll be able to get in some drafting and see what it's
until
like.
you can draft? Oh, you can draft now, right?
I think it started this morning on Arena.
It's the gem only draft though.
Yes, gem only draft, and it is up on Modo too if you want to draft against other people.
I incinerated so many gems, losing to all my Theros sealed pools. I'm like, I don't know how much is what is the gem to dollar ratio? I forgot.
I think you get what 20,000 for $100, or no, yeah, 20,000 for $100.
20,000? Oh, so that's not bad. I just like wasted $50.
Yeah, I think it's like 10-ish dollars.
That's like,
whatever.
That's like going to a pre-release. That's like going to a pre-release, right? Like
That's 2
I got some
pre-releases.
packs.
That's 2 pre-releases.
Oh man.
And you get some amount of gems back, even if you like scrub. I think we went 3 in one of them, and you get back like 1,200 out of the 2,000 it costs or something. So maybe
but you don't get anything back
as
if you go 0-3, Seth.
I
have done
that, Richard.
I have done this. I'm like, this was a sick deck, guys. I'm like, no, why am I sucking so bad? What happened? I know nothing about Magic.
So, all right. Any other Theros / standard thoughts before we answer some fish mail today?
Magic. You're going to play a lot of it when it comes to limited.
Well, let's answer a lot of fish mail.
All right. If you have questions, send them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air. The Tired Tracker. What do you think about Treasure Cruise and Pioneer? Will it get banned, or can I keep playing Is It Phoenix?
I think Dig Through Time is more likely to get banned than Treasure Cruise, but I think there's a chance they just both get banned. I would be surprised if we're looking at Pioneer like 3 or 4 years from now and the Delve cards are still legal.
I do think that at some point, yes, it will get to a level that is ridiculous. But for right now, I don't find those cards that bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like Pioneer, everything's about at the same power level. What you're getting, sure. It's nice to have like dig whatever 7 cards and then grab 2 or draw 3, but I don't know. Those cards just seem okay right now. Like they're powerful. They're like huge. They're a huge draw to why I like Pioneer, because you can play crazy powerful cards, and I don't know. But at the same time, every deck has about the same power level.
All right, I'll take that as a challenge, Krim, as I upgrade my Bogles deck.
I mean,
next week.
yes, maybe
all my
you'll
new
change
Theros
that.
cards.
Maybe you'll change
I
that.
swear it's a good deck, guys. I swear. At 11 Vicious, card advantage for white. A Johnny Sanctuary, 1 white enchantment, have target opponent gain 3 life, draw a card.
Oh, that's too good.
Wait, what?
You just draw your deck.
Oh, so you just, it's like
That's an
reverse.
enchantment, right?
Yeah, they gain 3 life, you draw a card.
Oh yeah, I will let you gain 300 life, and I draw 100 cards. Sure, go. I like where that's heading. Maybe if it was like use this once a turn or something, that still might be like too good. But if there's one thing we've learned from cards like Necro, life totals are not especially relevant. And I think like giving your opponent life is even less painful than paying life. Like to me, that reads like way more powerful necropotents.
Yeah.
It has to be something like you can only cast 1 spell a turn or something like attached to this, like a silence or something on top of this. Like if you're playing a creature deck, it's not bad, but people just use this in their combo decks and they don't care how much life you gain because they're going to kill you in one shot. So on the topic of white, what about from True Cross 77? White spell 2 into white, so 3 CMC. Put the top 2 cards of your deck onto the battlefield face down. They are 1/1 human soldiers. When these creatures die, put them in hand.
I kind of like that. We've had like Manifest in white before be pretty good, and that's kind of like the Ugin ability from Ugin the Ineffable. I could see that. No,
well, like what are 1/1 soldiers worth? If for 3 mana?
I mean they're there to die. I think so. You get to draw those cards. Like that's the main purpose.
But they're supposed to there to win the game through combat.
You could. I don't know, doubling season them or something.
Doubling
2/2 knights
season.
with vigilance. AJ Hewitt, what if white had card draw based on your opponents, like reverse balance?
Base.
Like let's say the difference between the number of cards in your hand and your opponent's, you draw it.
That'd be pretty
cool. We've seen that with some colorless cards. So I'm assuming if it's okay for colorless, it's got to be okay for white. That could be a way to go about it.
Wait, which colorless cards have this?
Ooh, I forget the name of it. It's a 7-mana 4/4 flyer from one of the commander decks that when it comes into play, you draw equal up to whatever your opponent with the most cards has.
Oh, I should put this in my white decks.
It would actually be probably pretty powerful for aggro decks, especially if it was like costed fairly cheaply. You could just like empty your hand and then play that as like a self Wheel of Fortune almost.
Oh, I just want real balance. Give me balance. Just for like 1 standard season.
It would only make it for about like 1 standard month. Like
I was actually thinking like, okay, what's a white thing? Land destruction. So we'll tie card draw to land destruction. So you Armageddon, and for each land that dies, draw a card.
that sounds fun.
Yeah, fun for everyone.
And then for every 2 lands, you may put a land from your hand into play after, right? While we're at it.
For every card you draw, you may put a land from your hand to the battlefield. So balance. That's basically
so you pretty much want 1-sided land destruction. You got it.
All right, lol gold steel. What about white is about taxing? What about like a white Rhystic study or ghostly prison?
White Rhystic study exists. It's called whatever smothering type.
No, that doesn't draw you cards.
No, it doesn't need to. You have a ton of mana.
I think white Rhystic study would be pretty good.
I actually think that might be the easiest way to go. Like, because it is on theme for white with its taxing effect. So I would be fine with white having, and it works. It's like similar to Mana Tithe, the Smothering Tithe. There's a lot of white cards that have that effect. So maybe that is like the way to go.
Yeah, I like to see like a Thalia.
Rhystic Tithe.
Except it's an optional tax, and if you don't pay the tax, then the player gets to draw a card.
That could work.
All right. Taylor of Brisket. What about this for white card draw? 1 white for an enchantment with at the beginning of your upkeep. If you do not control the most lands, draw a card.
That kind of works with...
So like land tax-ish type card.
Yeah.
If you do not control the most amount of lands on board, you draw an additional card.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I like that. I mean, like, it
And
helps
that's
you.
It's basically fixed land tax, kind of.
It's on point with like land tax and other effects. So that would seem like something white could do. It would be in their color pie, I think.
Yeah, I like that.
All right. Enough of the white card draw. We'll move on. Oh crap! Now what? Hasn't claimed the firstborn. Started strong and gotten better every set. Lots of creatures with drawbacks for your opponents. Have to worry about like escape. You get the payoff. This is the threaten
One
effect,
mana,
right?
threaten something, CMC through or
Yeah.
less.
I think that
I
card's
think-
really good. Yeah.
I've seen it. I mean, people play it with the Priest of Forgotten Gods.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you got to have sack outlet. So it's still like pretty, I think, narrow. But if you're playing like a sacrifice stack, or now I guess like a Thassa is another way you could take advantage of it.
I've seen people Thassa my things, Priest, and then also the Woe Strider or whatever, the free sack outlet, also Erebos. So
Witch's
there's,
Oven.
like tons of Witch's Oven, obviously. So, yeah, so there's a lot of things to take in sack.
Yeah, I think, and it also does get better with the Elder Titans around, because they're both like really powerful for their mana cost, but they technically are cheap enough that you can steal them. So
Oh, yeah.
Yep,
that's
yep.
right.
that feels so good that they all died a ritualist it. But they just come back right after. That's why.
Xenos fan 2. Any chance we might see Underworld Breach in Modern Burn sideboard against grindy matches?
Actually, we were talking about that actually at a point, and I think
yeah, I think you were suggesting that as a possibility.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think the idea of the Underworld Breach out of the sideboard or burn is actually like, it's like not a meme. I think it's very real. It is your late game. That is your like your final push for victory, pretty much. And then I think it's solid. I like the idea, because what is it? It's like you pay 1 for bolt. Like in Modern, like cards don't cost mana. They're pretty much like 1 mana, right? So it's not too big of a deal. So you could load your yard up. You have a bunch of fetch lands. It's not hard for you to pay that additional escape cost.
Yeah, I could see it having potential. I think you'd be thinking of it like probably maybe casting 2 spells. I guess my only concern is like for it to work, you probably have to have 4 mana. Like you got to be able to cast Underworld Dreams and cast 2 spells. Like if your burn deck is getting to 4 mana consistently, and you need what, 8 cards in your graveyard?
Yeah,
But you have fetch lands to help?
Yeah,
like I'd have to do some math to see how quickly you could actually do that and actually like think about it, but it seems like maybe it could work.
right? Like
So
like
it's
late game.
4 mana, 6 damage.
Basically.
Yeah.
Is there something better we could do? Like,
Well, 4 mana, 6 damage is like one of like the things that could happen. But there's also games where I play against burn, and they'll just draw more lands than I will.
but if they drew all those lands, will they have enough gas in the graveyard to
At that
to,
point,
like,
probably,
actually
because
play against them?
they emptied their hand so fast. I mean, you could,
That's
right?
interesting.
Because you have fetch lands, you have all the spells. That's why, like, I don't think this is like something I'd put 4 of in my sideboard. I'd probably play like 1 or 2. And
What
then
if you just play Hazaret and just like smash their face?
Hazaret is a thing you could do. Yeah, it's a thing.
I think I'm not completely opposed to it, but I'd have to think more about it. But I could see where Grim's going with it. I'd have to look at the other options though, and really think about it more before I like committed to it.
I would need to have to play Burn to know about
Hey,
this.
Oko
I
is,
draw the line at Bogles, okay?
Oko is
Bogles
not
really
here
strong.
anymore, so you don't got to worry about Oko just ending your burn dreams. All right, you're good.
Oh, I thought you were saying since Oko's banned, like Burn wasn't playable anymore because people were playing Oko and Burn.
Oh no.
Can't play my Burn deck now that Oko's
I
banned.
mean, also true. You can't play burn anymore because wow, the meta. How will it recover?
All right, that's all the time we have for questions this week. Thank you to everyone who sent them in. If you have questions, send them to @MTGGoldfish on Twitter with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air.
And I believe that brings us to the end of episode 260 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. So Richard Krim, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And we will be back next week to talk about whatever happens in the world of Magic. So until then, this is the crew signing out.